I had to give a little shout out. I had to get a little bit of that in, a little video. Let's watch it again. Beautiful Neyland Stadium, the home of the Tennessee Volunteers. This is Reckless Speculation, and we've got somebody new for you to entertain. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Normally you see Raj and Shane with us. Both are traveling, one with their family. One of them is kind of trapped outside the Hurricane Ian travel scope, so he can't be here, and the other one's leaving first in the morning. So let me make welcome, setting in for him tonight. Just what Robbie said we needed. One more Michigander. But he's here on the night. We're going to talk about Mel Tucker.
Oh,
JP,
yeah.
Welcome to Reckless Speculation, my friend.
Thanks for having me, guys. I didn't know I was going to be on until about a half hour ago, but we'll make it happen.
I didn't know nobody was showing up till about a half hour ago. So we're all to his that way. A normal cast men are here every week. The man, the myth, the legend, the LinkedIn god, Tom Sloan.
Yes, Tom. And if you post some illegitimate content on LinkedIn, I'm going to catch you, and I'm going to wipe you out. Yes, another adventurous, crazy weekend in the world of sports, and I'm looking forward to discussing it and hearing about your guys' weekend down there in Knoxville.
I'm sure Robbie and I have got a lot to talk. We're not sure Robbie's sobered up from the weekend yet.
Probably not.
Y'all welcome in a graduate of a top 10 rated school, along with myself, wearing my little hoodie tonight. We are in the top 10. We are 4-0. A graduate of the University of Tennessee, Robbie Davis.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Yeah, it's been a wild ride, and we're going to get to that in a bit. But yeah, I'm looking forward to this evening. And yeah, Wednesday came up quick for me. So yeah, I also, JP, did not know I was going to be on here until about 30 minutes ago.
Every Wednesday for the last 2 years.
Yeah.
So as you can see, everybody, and in the comments that are coming in, we are not a well-oiled machine, but we will try to put some entertainment out tonight.
Oh, yeah.
First, I want to start with obviously what happened in Knoxville. And I think it's not just because Robbie and I are both Tennessee fans, but it did have a national impact on the polls, and even could the bowl championship series. And I'll get to that in a minute. Robbie, we'll start with you. What was I want to discuss first? I've been going to Tennessee games since 1990. I by far won't say this was the loudest game I've been in. I think Oklahoma, when they come in with Baker Mayfield, comes to mind. Upsetting Florida in 98, another game. The crowd was very loud. It was intense, but you almost felt like they was a paranoid. Like, hey, we know we're supposed to win this football game. We're loud, but we're kind of waiting for something bad to happen also. Did you get that sense at any point?
So the OU game and the Ole Miss game were both night games compared to this day game. While it was a 3:30 game, it still was a little earlier. So the liquids weren't flowing quite as much as they were in those two games. I thought there was a level of confidence and cockiness throughout the first three quarters. And then you got to the fourth quarter and you got that onside kick. And then there was you felt it. The whole stadium was like, oh my God, no, this can't happen. Like, they are not going to come in here and win this last moment. What I was impressed with, one, the checkerboard atmosphere was awesome. Game day was awesome. And this is from a UT fan that expects our fan base to be a little spoiled with our huge facilities. Like, I mean, we are spoiled. The SEC, yeah, it's bigger, better. Like, but game day was huge, packed to to the T. And then the stands up 17. And I know you want to say, of course, they're going to stay and beat Florida to the end. But they all did stay. The fans stayed. The upper deck stayed. I sit in the upper deck. No one left. It was a great atmosphere. Thank God no one tried to rush the field because we're better than that. It was just a great – you should be better than that, Randall.
I should be, but I'm not, Robbie.
It was the highest rated television show over the week, highest rated college football show of the weekend. Just a great atmosphere for the Vols. Great showing. The recruits loved it. Overall, just 10 out of 10 for the Vols for this weekend.
It was a huge. I thank God for once we bring in like 20 official visitors and we win the football game. So many times we've lost the football game. So Tom, outside of and Rogers has talked about it, and I agree with him. Outside of our little area here, Aaron Judge, by the way, just hit number 61, guys.
Yep.
Aaron Judge just hit 61. Coming across my Twitter. Outside of our area, this game finally, for once, probably since 2007 or 6, meant something nationally. You talked about having it on TV. What was the interest level around the speakeasy in this game?
Well, as you guys knew, we had a bit of a soiree at the speakeasy, and it was one of the highlighted games. I think, well, we had a Notre Dame fan in the house, and we had a Ohio State fan in the house.
You need new friends.
Well, yeah, you do. There's a variety up here, but I mean, it definitely had a different feel, and I liken the Tennessee program to how Michigan was a couple years ago, kind of just getting by barely, bringing in big names, and it just never really equating to much. But now they have an opportunity, just like Michigan did last year. They had an opportunity to make good with their big-time recruits and a good coach. So that's how I think Tennessee's program is perceived here. They have all the pieces to make a run. They have a good coach. So, let's face it, college football is better off when Michigan is succeeding and when Tennessee is in the top 10. So for a college football standpoint, it was a good thing. I mean, I think Knoxville showed up. Pat McAfee was on the Manning cast Monday night talking about how it was an honor to be there and how, football is life in that part of town. And I agree. I think they had to win that game. They were on the stage. It was the first time they were on that stage in a long time. And they did what they had to do. Yeah, it was a close game. Florida wasn't going to be a pushover. And you know what? At the end of the game, the best team won. And you know what? This could propel Tennessee for the next couple of years. And it'll be interesting to see now how much that win means in 3 weeks here against Alabama. That's going to make that game. You just might see game day back in Knoxville.
JP, I got a question for you. And I often on this show and other shows, they talk about the fallen blue bloods of college football.
Mm-hmm. Fallen blue bloods of college football was FSU, Tennessee, and Nebraska. I've heard those names over and over lumped together. Yeah.
LSU, even though FSU had success since the other two have, we've seen Nebraska get worse. Now Scott Frost. We've seen FSU kind of maintain where they're kind of mid-pack. Did Tennessee break away from the other two as the floundering programs just by what happened this week? Or do they still have to go out and go 10-2 or 11-1 to prove to the nation they are a program still?
Well, I think much like Michigan fans experienced for years, you guys come out the gates, you're off to a hot start. But, still looming ahead, you got the big boys coming. So, still, I think you guys gained a lot of momentum off the victory. And I think you got a legitimate Heisman candidate in Hendon Hooker, which is bringing a lot of attention to the program. But you knock off one of those big boys, and we'll have a whole different conversation here in a couple of weeks.
Absolutely. Now, the last subject go ahead. Last subject we'll cover with Tennessee, Robbie, and I do want to bring this. In the next 6 weeks, we're by this week, we see in the next 6 weeks LSU, Alabama, Georgia, and Kentucky. What do you define success with that run? Is it 2-2? Is it 3-1? And we are on the road at LSU and at Georgia. That's quite a gauntlet to run.
So let me just start with the fan in me was still disappointed that we didn't get a night game at LSU, even though I know it's death. But I wanted to go to Baton Rouge at night. But we got lucky. We got the 11 a.m. game, which is absurdly early for Baton Rouge. So I think we win that game because of the time slot. If you go 2-2 these next 4, then that's a success. You end up 10-2, and you're playing in the Sugar Bowl. That's for a second season after the dumpster fire that Pruitt left. I mean, good God, could you imagine if you had told me when Pruitt was fired in 2 years we'd be in the Sugar Bowl? I'd be like, you're effing insane.
You and I had a pretty heated debate when I said that we would go even bowling in the first year. I think you said 2 or 3 wins.
Yeah.
So I keep bringing up the point. We've went in 16 months from handing out McDonald's bag to number 8 in the nation. Tom, that is my question, because it is very hard sitting here in Chattanooga, Tennessee, a UT graduate. Scott Frost is fired. So, but he built the UCF program. Josh Hopple, fired at Oklahoma famously as OC. Utah State recruits and grooms Jordan Love. Then follows Scott Frost at UCF. Now 18 months at Tennessee. I'm going to tell you right now, if the man wanted to run for governor tomorrow, he will probably get elected in the state of Tennessee. But that's because we have orange glasses on. How good is Josh Hopple?
Well, I think you look at, especially this offseason, he was very vocal about how he felt about his football team. And all they've done is gone out and prove him right. So far, so good on that standpoint. But yeah, you look at these upcoming weeks. LSU is definitely beatable. I don't think they struggle with that game. Being an early kickoff helps them. There will be having a cook-off there, I'm sure. But that helps them. But you know what? It's going to be a challenge against Alabama, but Knoxville's going to bring it. And that home crowd, just look at what happened in Texas with Alabama. Those Cowboys, the Texas fans were up for that game. They were crazy, and it really affected how Alabama played. And then you got Kentucky at home. That's a very winnable game. And you know what? Georgia, I think after the big game in week 1 that they had, you know what? They've kind of fizzled out a little bit. Yeah, they're the best team in the country, but I don't think they're as scary, we'll say, as we thought they were after week 2. So as far as Heupel goes, he's all the hype. Pardon the pun. He's saying what he needs to say, and his team is backing him up. And that just tells you the camaraderie they have in that locker room and how much faith they have in that coach for him to go out there and really preach what he's got and them to turn around and back it up on the football field. I think he's the real deal. I don't think he is as fraudulent as somebody will talk later in the show. So we'll just a little foreshadowing.
Yeah, there's a lot of foreshadowing. All right, JP, I got one quick question for you, and Robbie, I'm going to let you close out the Vols, Florida. JP, let's talk about the Florida program. they've been through almost a Tennessee like they've been through, I think, 3 coaches in 9 years. It is.
Mm-hmm.
Is Florida in danger of keeping hiring and firing coaches to putting their program at risk? I mean, Billy Napier is a Chattanooga guy, and back then I still root for Billy Napier. But you've got his nickname locally is Sunbelt Billy. Sunbelt Billy. You've got a Sunbelt coach probably running. I'm going to tell you guys, you could recruit a top 5 class with a in Gainesville, Florida. I think it's the most ready to win program in the nation. Florida, what's Billy Napier got to do at Florida to get that program back?
I think this year you got to get to at least get to that 7. If they can go bowling this year, I think that'd be pretty good. But like you said, it's a ready-made to win program. It's all the best players in the country play in Florida. So I think you have to, gradually get better this year, make a bowl. And then you need to start competing in the East within the next couple of years because that seat gets hot down there quick.
Yeah. Expectation in Florida is unreal. Great point. Mm-hmm. Robbie, final words on Tennessee, Florida, what you can remember about Tennessee, Florida.
Well, I will say this. For the Michigan guys, Florida is the Southern program that reflects Michigan. Like they're still trying to hire the right coach. They're good at they're good at all sports, but still trying to find together. And yeah, Napier, like they're just still like they win the conference or the side of the conference, but it's not good enough. They fall back, and it's just kind of a shuffle for the last decade or so. That's coming from a Tennessee fan. We've been a shuffling board for 20 years, but the last takeaway from the Florida-Tennessee game was this is why ESPN is going to pay out the wazoo for this 12-team playoff. I'm against it, but a home playoff game in a college campus is going to be insane, and it's going to be nuts. And the live TV is nothing like it. And it's gonna be rocking, and this atmosphere is just amazing.
All right, I want to get around one more subject with college football. I think you summed it up well. Clemson, Wake Forest. Wake Forest, I think it was the other game of the day in college football. Wake Forest loses their quarterback at the start of the season. We all bury Wake Forest as not the same program without one player. Clemson 52, Wake Forest 45. Tom, is Clemson for real or is Wake Forest still for real? Or are they both just okay football teams? My theory is the ACC's got about 5 good football teams and no great football team. Start with that.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. To start off, I don't think Clemson's number 5. I really don't. Their defense is very suspect since Brent Vegetables has departed, and DJ. Yeah, I'm not going there. He just he just hasn't met maybe the hype. I know Raj was talking about it last week. How he was one of the best college or high school football players coming out of California, part of a great family, and he just get into a program that it just doesn't fit. And here we're in year 3, and yeah, they're ranked 5, but I don't know. I don't know if he's the answer. Wake Forest seems to always be a thorn in people's sides every year. They should have won that game. What's that?
Purdue of the ACC.
Yeah, oh, that's perfect. Same color schemes too. So I just think they should have won that game. They had it. And I think the lights got a little bit too bright for them. But I think they're an okay team. And, yeah, the ACC is what it is. There's nobody that's going to stand out and be better than, like you would say in the SEC. But Clemson, I don't know. We're going to find out this week if Clemson's, any good. And because they're going up. What are they going up against this week? They're playing NC State. So that'll be a pretty good battle for Clemson. So we'll see. But I think your analogy of two okay teams is probably right, and Clemson might be just a little bit better.
JP, Clemson and Wake Forest. Your question is more of an overall ACC. Clemson plays Nebraska or NC State this week. One of those teams are going to be thrust into, they're going to be a college playoff team. Is there anybody in that conference that it could play with Ohio State or Alabama or Georgia, or are they at best, is it just a very good football team that is Tennessee or Florida?
Well, I kind of disagree with what Tom was talking about, because I think DJ Leilua, I think he's played very well this year, actually. If you look at his numbers, he's been fighting off that freshman kid behind him. And Wake Forest did have Sam Hartman come back. He threw 6 touchdowns. And I would argue that Wake Forest could probably score on just about anybody in the country. So I think Clemson is the team, and Florida State, you'll learn more about them when they play Clemson. I don't really know about any of the other teams. Maybe North Carolina is a dark horse.
How about Syracuse 4-0? They've beaten Purdue, they've beaten Virginia. There's quietly 4-0. Nobody's talked about them at one, even brought them into the top 25.
Yeah. Well, I don't think they've played. I mean, I don't know, man. I haven't really got to watch Syracuse much this year. I'm not going to lie. But we'll see. I mean,
they stole a win. They stole a win from Purdue a couple weeks back. They caught a couple lucky breaks real late, and they got that win.
Was this Hartman's first week back?
Say that again.
Was this Hartman's first week back?
No, Hartman came. I think he actually came back last game. He's only missed one game. And I mean, 6 touchdowns against Clemson is pretty good, if you ask me.
Oh yeah.
But I don't know. I don't think that there's any definite team in the ACC or any conference for that matter that you can say later on down the line will be a college football playoff contender.
All right, Robbie. Any words on Clemson, Wake Forest? You didn't go to Wake Forest, did you? You went to every other college in the nation.
I've been in Wake Forest for a party weekend.
Of course.
Yeah, I mean, look, the ACC, guys, the separation is growing, and that Clemson's the best of the best is out there. They're not number 5 in the country, and to go to overtime against Wake Forest, I know teams have good games and bad games. That conference is going to eat itself up, and there's just not going to be a lot to talk. We will not be talking about the ACC this time next month. I can assure you that.
Outside of Georgia, is there any definitive top 5 team? I haven't really seen it.
Alabama and Ohio State.
Yeah. But
I definitely think they're 2 and 3. I think there's probably 20 teams that could be 4 at this point.
Yeah.
All right, Robbie. Real fast, one word or one sentence answers. I'm going to come around the panel. I've got 2 future Tennessee opponents for you. I kind of want an instant reaction. Georgia 39, Kent State 22. Any noise to Kent State hanging 22 on Georgia?
No, just a lazy game.
Kentucky 31, Northern Illinois 23. Any instant reaction to that, or just a lazy game?
Lack of preparation there.
All right, Tom. Couple of games out there for you. One I want to ask you about is in the SEC, but it's a national story to me. After losing to Appy State, Texas A&M rebounds and beats Arkansas.
Key turnover at the right part of the game. Late second half when Arkansas was getting ready to go in and score. And for whatever reason, the running back decides to go over the top from like the 4-yard line, coughs up the ball, and Texas A&M, crazy run up the sideline, and then kind of just hands it off to his teammate was running behind him, and they got caught in like a melee, and Arkansas never saw him. He came out of the pile. I think that was the key in that game.
And the wild field goal.
All right, I'll come back to you for the second game. I want to talk to you because I think with JP, it's going to lead to a bigger conversation. But I do want to get JP. I've got 2 games. He's filling in for Raj tonight. So if the games will definitely have a West Coast bias. So I hope you got to see them. But the first one, Kansas State beats Oklahoma. Brent Venables goes down in his first real test. Adrian Martinez, the Nebraska transfer, lights them up. Instant reaction from you is what?
I think that with Adrian Martinez and Deuce Vaughn in the backfield, I think that Kansas State has a legit offense. And I'm not surprised, quite honestly. I don't think Venables packed his defense from Clemson yet, but you got to give him some time to do that.
Yep.
Okay. And I agree with you. I really like Adrian Martinez. Was a commit to Tennessee at one point.
Yeah.
The other one, of course, is Raj being a USC graduate, but here's a team in the top 6, struggles with Oregon State, who was undefeated coming into the game. And in my head, we saw the 2 best Pac-10 or Pac-12 teams play.
Yep.
USC hangs on and just 17-14 over Oregon State.
Well, I think it was good that, they got the run game going with Travis Dye. I think Caleb Williams struggled a little bit, but I don't think it's ever easy to go on the road and win at Corvallis. And I think their defense answered some questions and made some big stops down the stretch. Oregon State was scoring a lot of points coming into that game. So I think that was a really positive for Lincoln Riley there in the first year.
All right, guys, we're going to expand these next 2 a little bit, get them all around the panel, even though I originally just listed this one to Tom, but I do think we need to maybe expand on it. Michigan 34, a much improved Maryland team 27. I think Mike Loxley is going to get it done at Maryland. It's taking him some time. Tom, instant reaction.
Raw quarterback. Is he the right fit? Absolutely. It's going to take a little bit. JJ's got as many tools as anybody in the country. He just needs to bring it together. I was a little disturbed by the lack of pass rush from Michigan, which really opened up a lot of opportunities for Tagovailoa to get down the field and also make plays with his legs. But ultimately, the better team did win. They're going to need, JJ to really make some plays this week. Iowa doesn't score much, but they've got a solid defense. So it'll be another good test for them this week. But no need to panic. This is an example of playing cupcakes, and then you had your first true competition. So they were a little bit slow, but they'll be okay.
I am impressed, though, at where this Maryland program was a few years ago and where is it at now. So I do think it's not there proven. JP,
their secondary is one of the better secondaries in the country, and they held Michigan in check for probably 2.5, 3 quarters of that game.
We're going to talk about that a little more. I want to talk about Maryland. I got one little tidbit. JP, I'd like to get your instant reaction on Michigan, Maryland. And Robbie, if you have anything to add at the end, go ahead and throw it in.
I think a lot of people here are downplaying the caliber of coach that Loxley really is and how well he's recruited in that D.C., Maryland area where there's tons of talent. You know what I mean?
And
so
Michigan recruits there.
I thought that coming out of it, I thought it was their first test. I think we ran the ball real well. Our quarterback is going to be good. Obviously, he's got to, build that callus up a little bit. The defense is concerning. We got to find a pass rush from somewhere. But, it's something to build off of playing real competition. So I walked away from it pretty encouraged. It wasn't as close as the score indicated as Maryland scored a late touchdown there, but not too bad.
Blake Corum, top 2-3 running backs in the country.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Robbie, Mike Locksley's 18-50 as a head coach. But Alabama, since 2019 on the offensive side, I think everyone gives Lane Kiffin credit for the improvement in Alabama's offense. But I also think Mike Locksley put some twist on that offense. And I don't know in 2020, of course, in 2021, they had a Heisman winner. It took some guts for Maryland to hire this guy with such a bad head coaching resume and such a stellar assistant coach resume. Did it not? And what's your overall feel of the Maryland program?
Yeah, I agree. Like he did not do well in New Mexico, I believe, and then went to Alabama, and then Alabama's the coach's car wash, as we all know. Comes to Maryland, which has some success, but not lately. They're in a tough spot in the Big Ten because they don't really fit in the Big Ten. And while you have that DC metro area, so does Virginia Tech, NC State, UNC, and so UVA. And so it's a tough area to recruit for football. But look, to compete in this, hey, if this game was in College Park, maybe it's a different scenario, and maybe they get the upset. With that being said, though, yeah, I think Loxley's a good coach, and he keeps battling. I think he's getting there. But, man, in the Big Ten East, it is such an uphill battle because you have the juggernaut. Like, it's the most, I think, unfair weighted conference division-wise of any of those conferences. And so if you're in that Big Ten East, man, you can have a 500 year, and that's a hell of a year. But people are just like, well, why aren't you winning more? Well, it's very hard to compete in that side of that conference.
Yeah, I think that's true, and I think that you're looking at right now. The SEC East has 3 teams in the top 10. The West is traditionally the power of the SEC, but I'm not sure the Big Ten East in a little more of a juggernaut every year than either one of those. But I think the key for Mike Locksley is had success in the portal. Maryland might not be a school that's going to recruit 5-star athletes, but it's got to be a destination for kids looking for a second chance. And I think that's where he excels and can bring this program back. So I really root for Mike Locksley. I've got to meet him one time. He is absolutely a great guy. So root for a good guy to get ahead. Now, with that, we're going to move on to a guy that I have a hard time rooting for. And he may be a great guy, but for some reason he loves.
He loves.
He does love.
Did you get hit with the hurricane?
He rubs Randall the wrong way, and we want to move on to Michigan State. I have probably more loyal State fans in my inner circle of friends than I do Michigan fans. So for me, but let's talk about Mel Tucker's resume. A candidate at Tennessee loses that job to Jeremy Pruitt, which is probably a mistake on Tennessee's part. Goes to Colorado, has not great success, but good enough to get him the Michigan State job. Hits the portal, lands Kenneth Walker II, which I think is a lifetime transfer. Takes a couple kids from Tennessee even, and puts a monster year together for Michigan State. Monster, beats Michigan. Was easily one of the stories of college football last year. Michigan State then, I think it's $95 million. Tom, is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Give Tucker $95 million. Locks him down for 10 years, and I think this is a high-ended buyout. And what happens this weekend? Tom, I'll let you get there. Michigan State's weekend.
Well, it started before last season began. The thought that he could pull at Michigan State what he did to Colorado, because the grumblings were he's going to LSU, and there was a lot of speculation that he was going to LSU. So I think this was a knee-jerk reaction by the Michigan State University. So that's one thing. Number two, the fan base is absolutely nauseating in a sense that Tuck coming and this and that. And so I think he's had a lot of pressure put on him for that phrase, which makes my blood boil every time I hear it. So yeah, he got lucky by getting a generational type running back. Breaking news: Coolio just died. You heard it here first on Reckless Speculation.
Oh, wow.
Coolio, the rapper, just died. So back to regular scheduled programming. So yeah, he gets Kenny Walker III out of the portal, who has an unbelievable year. Speaking of Wake Forest,
are you going to credit your sources for that? What kind of
that would be CNN. That would be CNN.
Yeah,
CNN.
Come on.
Did you really think Tom would have any at him other than CNN and Sports Illustrated? I mean,
don't be a rookie. You got to credit your sources. First reported by
MSNBC doesn't have an app, but yeah, it's CNN. So
it wouldn't want to be Fox News. I'll put it that way.
Hell no.
Hey,
no, I don't listen. I don't watch that rag.
Fox News would be like,
Oh, go ahead.
Immigrants are causing the hurricane.
Yeah, for sure. So, anyways, yeah, he has a big season. Beats Michigan last year. Their only loss in the Big Ten. So then the expectations were even more so this year. Yeah. And here's a team that comes into East Lansing that nobody's talking about. PJ Fleck is rowing the boat to an absolute curb stomping of the Fighting Tucks in East Lansing. That game was an absolute blowout from the beginning. I don't think half of that team got out of Seattle. I think they got stuck in the homeless compounds of Seattle. Never made it on the plane home. Is this bad coaching? I don't know. Is Peyton Thorne the most overrated quarterback since Jeff Smoker in the Big Ten? I don't know. They have probably the worst secondary in the Big Ten. So has he been successful in the portal this time? It doesn't look like it. His recruiting, yeah, he recruited well on paper, but it's just it's not coming together, and that loss out there in Washington really took a lot out of that team. And 34-7 at home against the Fighting Boat Rowers, it's not a good look for Tuck coming. It looks like Tuck would be going if he has any more games like that.
PJ Fleck, another one that makes Randall can't stand him list, but. JP, 10 years, $95 million. I just verified. You're in the area. What's the local media in the local sport talk say about Mel Tucker right now?
I think it's complete hypocrisy here now. The guy is one of the highest paid coaches in the country. He's in year 3, mind you, but the local media here is giving 2020 a pass. Now, if this was Jim Harbaugh, then, you know what I mean, he'd be on the Feinbaum show and everything else. So I think he's getting a pass up here, but he doesn't deserve it for what he's making.
Yeah, we have a local radio program here we won't mention because it's terrible. That's all they talk about is Mel Tucker. They're the afternoon drive guys, and they both are Michigan State grads, and all they do is talk about Mel Tucker, and it's just. And if you mention anything about Michigan, that it's just they come back with, oh, well, you know, this and that. But it's, yeah, like JP said, it's a big hypocrisy around here. And although Michigan State, the fans, I think they're very fair weathered in a sense. When they're winning, they're there, and when they're not, they seem to disappear. So fully expected.
All right, Robbie Davis, you're a numbers guy. You're a TV. You're a media guy. I'm going to read you something. Top 5 paid coaches in America. And this is based on annual average volume. Dabo Swinney, $10.5 million. Nick Saban, $10.35 million. Kirby Smart, $10.25 million. All have a national championship. Lincoln Riley, $10 million. Does not have a national championship. Young coach, has made the playoffs. Brian Kelly, $9.5 million. Has made the playoffs at LSU. Tied for 5 with Brian Kelly at $9.5 million. Record 20-16. Mel Tucker. What is your reaction when you hear that number?
Well, my gut reaction is Tucker came from Saban's tree, so I assume Jimmy Sexton's his agent. Is that correct?
I actually think you are correct. I was going to bring that up next.
Yeah, so nobody runs circles around athletic directors more than Jimmy Sexton. So he just literally, he will just, I think he gets coaches fired just to get his other coaches a raise. Yeah. Oh, so-and-so, LSU's looking at him. LSU was not going to damn hire Mel Tucker, who had one winning season with Michigan State, to come down there, and then he got him $9.5 million. That's what he does. That's what Jimmy Sexton does. Do I think he's a terrible coach? No. Is he worth $9.5 million a year? No. He just lost to Washington, Minnesota. He's got a toss-up at Maryland, then Ohio State a loss, Wisconsin a loss, at Michigan a loss, then at Illinois is going to be oh my gosh, you better win or else what?
They won't make a bowl game.
Is it Big Ten money buyout decision? So you went from the huge contract to you better get your stuff together. But yeah, this is Jimmy Sexton special. And I would be shocked if Jimmy Sexton is not his agent.
There's actually a word that he's not getting paid by the university. There's actually a couple big donors that are paying his contract. I think Matt Ishbia being one of them.
Yep.
So
I did hear that.
Is
Matt
that legal?
Matt Ishbia was part of Izzo's, what year was it? 2000 national championship team. He's the CEO of a very large mortgage company in the area.
Are we breaking news on an NCAA violation?
I
know he was one of the big donors.
Rumored NCAA violation.
Yeah.
His agent is listed as Neil Cornrich. He was hired August 29th, 2020.
So he just got hired.
Neil needs a raise.
Yes.
Let's look at Jimmy Sexton.
So here's my perception, and we'll go around. I've often said that Michigan State is a program that can win, but must have a coach that can develop talent. Is it possible that Mel Tucker can go out and recruit against Michigan head-to-head? And my friend George Jackson probably right now blocking me on Instagram. But to me, it's uphill battle moving forward is recruiting his own state. I'm not even sure he's what's in his own state. I think kids would go out of state before going to Michigan State. How does he recruit in Michigan, Tom?
Well, this past recruiting class, he actually did really well. He goes to areas that Harbaugh generally doesn't, like Belleville and Detroit. You don't see a lot of recruits going to Michigan out of those two particular areas, and they're a hotbed of football. So he has been going to those areas, but I think it's a lot like a Harbaugh situation where he's got to bring the right coaches in. In college football, isn't it? It's not just about the head coach. It's about the coordinators. And I really think that's where Michigan State's fallen short in the previous years. They haven't had the right coordinators in place to coach up the kids they bring in. And just like Michigan the past couple of years, prior to last year, Harbaugh was trying to do it himself. I don't think he brought the right pieces in, and he did. So if Tucker can bring in a lot of maybe some Michigan State players of old, maybe get them in the mix and bring in some right coaches that are gonna work with the type of talent that they're bringing in, I think he's got a chance. But you know what? That remains to be seen. How long is he going to hang on? How long is the university going to give him? I mean, when you're paying the guy $9.5 million, that doesn't leave a whole lot left for the coordinators. And I think that's one thing that Harbaugh did that I can appreciate. He will say took a pay cut in order for some of the bigger name coordinators to come in. They were able to do that. So as far as recruiting in Michigan, he doesn't do so bad, but I don't think he's got the right staff in play for them to succeed.
Well, one of the things he did, though, was he hired Wiltshire away from Kaz Tech, who's one of the most prominent programs in the Detroit Public League.
In Detroit, yeah.
So that gets you into Detroit.
Mm-hmm.
And then they got a connection with Belleville because Coach Crowell and Coach Harbaugh don't see eye to eye. So I think you're going to see Tuck coming recruiting big in the state of Michigan, because between the Public League and Belleville, those are the schools that are putting out all the D1 prospects.
Yeah, Belleville is a powerhouse.
Yeah.
So in 2021, he finishes 26, signs more kids from the state of Georgia than he does Michigan.
Well, and I'll just look where you're located doesn't really matter, right? So that makes no geographical sense why you football is a summer to early winter sport. Why would you want to go do August practices in the South? That's miserable, right? But people go down there and do it because it's when you're a high school athlete, you look, if I'm going to play in college, I want to go to the pros. So it's who can get you to the pros. And that's the standard. That's all you look at. Maybe back in the day, it would be like, oh, my parents could come see me play. Those days are gone. That they're private jets. There's so much money involved now. It's who can get me to the pros. And that's where Saban stacks 5 stars on 5 stars on 5 stars. That's what Kirby Smart's doing at Georgia. We'll get you to the pros. You just sit and wait for your 2 years. You play 1 year. Let's hit on your body, and you're in the pros. That's what the goal is. That's what Ohio State's doing. That's what Michigan's now starting to do now. It is come here, sit, don't get hurt, wait. You're getting to the pros. And that's where these middle-tier big conference schools are going to lose on. Like, hey, if you're Mel Tucker, you better hit on these people. You better get them into the pros, because if you don't, people are going to start looking at you.
Robbie, I think your point's valid. I think there's a few programs. We talked about Florida is got to build in. Texas got to build in. At USC got to build in. The state of Tennessee is getting better, but the University of Tennessee signs 4 to 5 kids from inside the state a year. And I think Michigan State's recruiting has to mirror Tennessee's in that they have to be able to go outside of that 100-mile radius and bring in, Tennessee lives by bringing in a lot of times kids out of Georgia. Last year we signed 5 kids out of Georgia that not necessarily was offered by Georgia, but was offered by everybody else.
Yeah, I get what you're saying, Randall, but that's an outdated model now. It's now Texas A&M had a $30 million fund. It doesn't matter where you're from. Just you just come here. Tennessee, we paid $8 million for a quarterback. Allegedly, or whatever. So all of that doesn't matter anymore. There's no in-state. There's no out-of-state. It is just
traditions are out the window.
Yeah, where's your boosters? Where are they paying your money?
How old is Hooker? 27 now?
All right.
26.
Alumni are
30th birthday
party on where people go to school. So Nebraska, if you guys want to stop sucking, you better get some money and pony up.
Yeah.
We famously ponied up to the tune of about 28 million rumored this year.
Yeah.
All right. Question about Michigan State.
Top 10 already.
Just go. Yeah. Hey, and he added a $2 million annual revenue just by tearing out some seats and putting a Jumbotron up there.
Oh,
And
I got an email today. 2023 season tickets are already on sale. Oh yeah, they're drumming it up.
I got my renewal slip Sunday after beating Florida on Saturday. Tuck's contract's 5 years. 2 questions, and everybody.
It's 10 years.
Does he make it 5 years?
It's 10 years.
10 years. Sorry, 10 years. Contract's 10 years. Does he make it 5 years? Does he make it 10 years? What in the next 5 years? What does his record look like? Start with JP.
I think that he will, only because that school doesn't carry an expectation like Michigan or Ohio State. And like I said, the local media is kind of a hypocrisy around here. So I think he's going to have, they're going to give him that 5 years to work in his players. And, you know, that's kind of what they're selling now. I think that he'll make it, though. I think he's selling an SEC program because those are his roots. That's where he's from. So he's trying to recruit that. He wants to compete with the big boys. I don't think that Mark left the cupboard. I think Mark left the cupboard pretty bare for him. I do see him making it. My panic level on if I was a Michigan State fan would be like a 4 right now, but I think he has time to turn it around. I just don't think that he merits the money that he makes, but that's just my opinion.
Robbie, same question, and add that panic level to it because I'm going to jump in on this thing.
Yeah, I think he will still beat up on the Indianas, the Marylands, and the Rutgers. He'll finish 4th in the East for the next 5 years, and maybe he upsets Penn State, Michigan every once in a while. Yeah, I go over panic level. Until Tom Izzo retires, it's a 3. When Tom Izzo retires, it's an 8.
Oh, good point. All right, Tom.
Well, like JP said, Michigan State isn't a program where their butt cheeks are smoking. We'll say like Brian Kelly, will be. We're here in the next month down in Baton Rouge. They're going to give him every chance in the world, and they're definitely not going to cut him loose, seeing that they ponied up all that money for him. So 5 years, he'll definitely be there 5 years. I agree with JP again. I think Peyton Thorne was not his quarterback. Let's see what happens when he brings in his own guys. See if that works out. So I think 5 years is a good barometer. But the panic level of Michigan State fans, like I said before, when they're not winning, they crawl under a rock. You never hear anything from them until it comes to Michigan game, and they like to bring up old games. Well, we beat you guys, but then again. So, but I don't think there's much of a panic level from Michigan State fans.
I will say this though, when that new Big Ten TV contract signed, $95 million is chump change.
I agree.
That's just tax write-off money. They're gonna be making so much money.
Go ahead, Robbie.
I was gonna say, I mean, if you want that, now you're talking LSU Auburn territory. Just hire a guy, pay $100 million, fire him the next year, just rinse and repeat.
Well, LSU is going to do that with Brian Kelly. He's an absolute.
Auburn's doing it again. Auburn's going to do it too. Like,
yeah.
Well, let me.
Auburn's going to do it again.
Yeah.
I'm whatever the model is. I'm still a believer in that if you can't get players, you're going to die. If you take so far 2 years on the program, including this recruiting cycle, Tucker has never finished higher than 26. There's programs that can live at 26 and can win. I'm not sure that him and his staff is one of those programs that can consistently develop talent. I think y'all are right in that he has a long window. You can't fire him, not at $95 million. I think, though, we'll see this play out as sub 500. He's 20-16 now. He will be sub 500 by the time he's fired, whenever that comes. So 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, 8 years, whatever it is. He's a career 6-6 coach in my head. But for my boy George Jackson, I hope I'm wrong. All right, guys. It's a great college football segment. I loved it. We covered a crap load of territory in just a little time. So let's move on to the NFL. We want to stick around and try to get we're going to have to get in a little of this Braves Mets talk at the end of it. But let's move on to the NFL. And I want to start with the NFL. Robbie famously says has one of them every week. Every week somebody wins a football game and you go, how did that happen? Well, this week, the team that I picked to go to the AFC Championship game that was 0-1-1 somehow pulls the victory off of the Kansas City Chiefs. We know there's parity in the NFL, but did the Colts figure something out, or did the Chiefs lay an egg, Robbie Davis?
I think a little bit of both. The Chiefs have not been all that great this year. Look, everyone was curious if they'd missed Tyreek Hill or not. The answer is overwhelmingly yes. And you cannot overstate what it means to have a person on the sideline that at least two people have to account for. And then you open up with Travis Kelce. It's a whole game changer. So now the field is shrunk. And yeah, so am I overreacting? No, but the Chiefs are not the team they were last year. And this may be a huge blunder that they did not re-sign Tyreek Hill. Whatever they had to do to get him back, because they look way different and the Dolphins look a lot different. And that's a game changer if you can 2-on-1 at any position, and with the Chiefs they have with Kelce 2-on-1, that's 4-on-2 defense versus offense. That no wonder Mahomes looked so great in his early years. That's mismatch heaven. And with Andy Reid calling plays. So to make a long answer short, it was an upset just because of the spread. But when you look back and think of it, no, the Chiefs just aren't what we were. And I think we fall trapped this every NFL year. Oh, this team's better because they were last year. There's so much turnover, and each year is a different year, and each week's a different week. And so I got busted, and I'm sure everyone else did too.
Yep.
JP, you had a resounding yes on that Terrell Hill comment, and I'm with you on that. Expand on that a little bit for our audience.
I think the Chiefs figured out quickly that McCole Hardman isn't Tyreek Hill.
Yeah.
So what a lot of teams did last year when they had Tyreek Hill is they played that too high safety look. And, you force Mahomes to be a game manager. I don't think they have that deep threat now. Now I think the defenses can get a little bit more creative with their coverages and blitzes and whatnot, how they're coming at him. So I think Mahomes is seeing a little bit different than what he's used to, because he's always used to having Tyreek Hill. And I think the frustration showed on the sideline when him and Bieniemy were going at it.
Yeah.
I agree. Tom, close us out on the Colts Chiefs.
Well, when you're a quarterback that has the elusivity, if that's a word, in the pocket, such as Mahomes, so there's no ever a play that's dead. You have a receiver in Tyreek Hill that he finds holes. He's a zone breaker. You take that out of the mix. There's your safe security blanket. Who's his go-to now? Everyone knows it's going to be Travis Kelce. Who do they bring in to replace Tyreek Hill? They bring in Scantlin from the Packers, who never really amounted to a whole lot besides their number 3 receiver, and Juju TikTok Smith-Schuster, who let's face it, he's at best a 3. So you take that out of the mix, I think their offense becomes fairly predictable. It seems to me like Bieniemy is trying to keep Mahomes in the pocket a lot more than he's wanting to, which is something to look down the field. There's a little bit of a mistrust between your coordinator who calls the plays and the quarterback. So you're $500 million quarterback. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. But I really think they put a lot of their eggs in Tyreek Hill's basket, and they're seeing the effects of him not being on the field. And on the flip side, Maimii, although he didn't do a whole lot this week, but the week prior, if not for Tyreek being on the field, they don't come back in Baltimore. So, bottom line is, I think the Colts are a good football team. They're a good home football team, and you knew they weren't going to stay down for long. They have a huge game this week against your Tennessee Titans, so we'll see how that goes. But I think Kansas City, a little bit predictable. Maybe the ship is starting to sail a little bit, but let's look back to the past couple years. The Chiefs kind of started off slow, mid-season, and by the end of the year, they were right in the mix. I don't know if that's going to happen this year because of the talent that they have, so we'll see.
All right, guys, I want to give a quick update. Braves are in extra innings, tied 2-2 with the Nationals, and the Mets and Marlins are tied 4-4 in the bottom of the ninth. So baseball's best pennant race is going to go down to the end. We'll talk about it in a little bit.
How about the Tigers? 5 wins in a row. Woo-hoo. The Tigers. They knocked the White Sox out of the playoffs. So
hey, good job. Let's skip to a team that really might be in the playoffs. Tom, I'll open it up with you. The Vikings and the Lions, 28-24. You're shaking your head. That opportunities to win that football game.
Well, Detroit was undoubtedly the better football team on the field on Sunday. I think they got victimized by the Dan Campbell maybe overcoaching. First half, he was 4-4 and fourth down conversions. Second half, he was 0-for-3. And then on that last drive, they choose. I think it was a 4th and 4. They choose not to go for the fourth down and go for a 52-yard field goal with a kicker who, no, I don't think he should be in the NFL. So I think they had a situation where Campbell overcoached him. And unfortunately, their defense couldn't hold up. They had a 10-point lead in the fourth, and in typical Lion fashion, they blow it. But with that being said, Jared Goff's having a really good season. I think he's only thrown up maybe 1 or 2 picks, and DeAndre Swift had a shoulder. Sorry, Randall, that happened. I know he's your guy. That's Brandon's guy. I forgot. That's Brandon's guy.
Williams. So
yeah. But yeah, I mean, so that gave an opportunity for Jamal to swing his hips left and right more than 2 times, which drew a penalty flag, unfortunately. But I think the Lions they're right there. They're right there. And Minnesota, I think the Eagles may have exposed them a little bit. I don't think they're as good as advertised, and I think that pendulum in the NFC North is swinging a little bit. So Kirk Cousins is Kirk Cousins. I don't think he's ever going to wow you. And in as long as these corners are absolutely locking up Justin Jefferson, they're having a rough time. So it could be a long season for Minnesota. The division maybe not be as easy as I thought, but it's going to be a grind. But the Lions pretty much gave that game away. They should have won. I should be going into Ford Field on Sunday against the Seahawks, the Sea Chickens, 2-1, but they're 1-2. So, but they're on their way.
JP, throw your 2 cents on that, being a Lions fan too.
I think that a lot of the game, especially on those last 2 drives, they're playing not to lose instead of being aggressive and playing to win. there was a lot of those long developing run plays that were getting stuffed. You know what I mean? And then Amani Oruwariye 6 pass interference calls didn't help at all. You lose your captain, all-pro safety, and Tracy Walker. I mean, the team's banged up. Swift was on a pitch count. And the team looks even more banged up this week. So it's once again, it's dark in Detroit as a Lions fan.
All right, Robbie Davis, I want to move over, and I've got JP going to comment on some Raiders things. Do you have a Lions comment you'd like to make, or can we move on to the Titans and Raiders?
Oh, yeah, no, I don't want to pretend like I watched that game.
Okay.
The only thing I have to say about that game, the only thing I have to say about the game is Kirk Cousins is a damn bum.
All right, go ahead.
No, he's a bum.
Okay. Titans and Raiders. Titans pull out a big victory.
Yeah, so my thoughts about this game are I don't know what to think, right? So obviously I want the Titans to win. But I think the Jags better than the Titans. I'm scared the Colts better than the Titans. And so I don't want us to be 8-8 or whatever the numbers are now. 8-9
or 9-7
or whatever, 9-8, whatever they are. I like 16 better. For whatever reason, that math is easier for me. But nonetheless,
says the attorney.
I don't want us to be middle of the road. Give us a good draft pick or give us a playoff championship. I think the Titans window has closed. Yeah, we beat the Raiders. Raiders are bums. Josh McDaniels, he may not want to be a head coach. He's failing again.
In the AFC West.
Not Al Davis, Mark Davis. Already sit down one-on-one with him. But the Titans, I mean, win by 2 against the Raiders, who aren't very good. And I just don't like this team. And so I don't want us to be in the middle of the pack, though. But it was entertaining, I guess. What do you say about the Titans not scoring in the second half? I mean, it was an ugly game. Might as well be watching the damn Lions.
Hey, I think you described it. They're middle of the pack.
Yeah.
JP, all the money the Raiders spent on a wide receiver, they look very pedestrian at this point with Josh McDaniels.
Yeah.
Too?
Well, I think that the good news is the AFC, highly acclaimed AFC West, through 3 weeks has been very underwhelming.
Whew.
You look at it, Denver looks dead. Justin Herbert's ribs are dead. There was some problems on the home front in Kansas City. So I think you could still make a strong case that this thing's wide open. I mean, look at you got Adams, you got Jacobs, you got Waller, you got some weapons. They got to get it together. But they also have 2 premier pass rushers with Chandler Jones and Max Crosby, which you don't see on a lot of NFL rosters. So as far as a winless team in the NFL, I think that they do have a chance because I think that division's very overrated.
Yeah. In 3 weeks, those opinions have really changed.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm going to throw it at you too, JP. The team, I think, opinions everyone's changed on too. Jags 38, Chargers 10. What's your opinion of the Jags now, 2-1?
I think Trevor Lawrence looks like the guy that we thought he may look like. And then you got Robinson, who's been the guy this year. He's been the touchdown guy over ETN. I thought that they had a young they got some good players on their defense, some young guys. To be honest with you, they're my biggest surprise so far in the NFL. There's no question.
Good. All right, I lost my notes for a second. Let me. I agree with you.
Plus, they've got a proven coach in Peterson.
Yeah,
who's
makes
he's
a difference when you have an adult in the room.
He's no doubt about it. He's a quarterback. He's been there in the league and he's won a Super Bowl. So it's funny. I think you guys posted something in the chat or in the text thread that he's now tied for 5th all time in wins as a Jacksonville Jaguar head coach with 2.
It don't take much.
Yeah.
Tom, before you, while you're sitting there, let's go ahead. I know you got some. You kind of scanned through the Bucs Packers game, which I unfortunately reported that and watched that trash. The Packers have no offensive identity. The Bucs are the most injured team in the NFL.
Yep.
I really think these are 2 teams that could end up spiraling down, except for it is Tom Brady. But what was your impression of just your quick view of the game?
I don't think either quarterbacks trust who they have right now. Aaron Rodgers looks very hesitant to put the ball downfield. He's relying heavily on Bob Tunyon, and he'll really lean on Lazard now that he's back. But neither one of them have an offensive line. I mean, Tampa Bay's offensive line has been depleted, which is unfortunate. But Brady, yeah, he'll have Mike Evans back this week, which will help. But 3 of his other receivers are all questionable, so it's going to be a tough road. And I'm not too sure Brady made the right decision to come back this year because he might lose his wife and another chance at a ring. But it was
fired.
It was definitely a lackluster game. Lots of turnovers, and here's the question that I got out of it: how much does Tom Brady miss Gronkowski?
A lot.
How much does he miss Chris Godwin?
Even more.
Yeah.
And here's the thing about it. I don't know if the answer is there. We all know that Brady's the ultimate competitor, but we don't know Mike Evans, Chris Godwin. Are those guys able to, after their success, to put it together? Robbie slipped out, JP, so I'll go to you. The other shocker of the weekend, the parental team that we've all talked about on this show and every show I've ever listened to, Buffalo Bills go down to the Miami Dolphins.
Yeah.
Are they for real?
Are the Bills for real?
Dolphins.
Is the Dolphins for real?
Oh, I think so. I think you look at last year, they posted a top defense, and to build off, Ed. So you got Tyreek Hill and you got Jalen Waddle. I mean, that's quite a bit to deal with. You know what I mean? And I think they've bolstered their run game a little bit with Edmonds and Mostert. I think they can compete and they can challenge.
Here's a stat I'll give you as far as that game is concerned that tells me that Miami defense is legitimate.
Oh, yeah.
Buffalo ran 90 plays to Miami's 39, and they were able to contain Josh Allen. Now, do they have the ultimate advantage as a home field team, how their stadium is designed? Whereas their sideline, the entire game is shaded, and the opponent's is not. It was about 110 degrees on the field, and Buffalo was in that sweltering sun the entire game. That may have been a big factor why they completely looked flat, but I still think Buffalo runs away with that division.
So the University of Tennessee did redesign their field to get their home bench in the shade. I mean, average temperatures in the 90s to kick off.
Mm-hmm.
It's a big deal.
Yeah.
All right, guys. I want to get around to some games this weekend, and I'm not looking for bet your nuts predictions. I'm just looking for your gut reactions. No huge breakdown, but I brought 4 games. I'm going to add the Titans to it. Nationals beat the Braves in 10 innings, 3-2. Mets still tied. Let's start. We talked about it just a minute ago. Let's start with the Titans and the Colts. And I'm not talking about line. I'm just talking about the football game and who wins the football game. Robbie, Titans and Colts.
So I think the Titans have reestablished Henry, and also The NFL home field is the most overrated stat in sports now. Like it's all just visiting fans going, people selling tickets. All these new super stadiums are diminishing the home field. And don't get me started about this new Titan Stadium they're going to build. I'll go off the rails. But anyways, I like the Titans in this one. I just think Tannehill's better than Ryan. Henry's better than Taylor at the moment. And then the Colts have a better defense, but I think it's going to be offset, so I'm going Titans.
JP.
I think the Colts. The Colts found a little something with Matt Ryan last week. I think Henry's going to get rolling just like he did last year at this point in the season. I'll go Colts.
Tom.
Yeah, I think like the Colts found a little something. I think Tennessee did too. And if they can play like they did the first drive in Buffalo a couple weeks ago, they have a chance. I like Tennessee in this game for the fact that King Henry is maybe finding his legs, and when he gets rolling, it's hard to beat that team. So I'm not sold on the Colts. They only scored 19 last week, so it's not like their offense is rolling. So give me the Titans.
I'll go with the Colts just simply because I do think they found something, and I've been the biggest here already, so no point of getting off the train right now. Let's move on. We'll start with JP on this one. Jags Eagles. I think this is a test of the two hottest teams, maybe in the NFL.
Well, Doug Peterson's returned to his old team. I don't think any quarterback in the league you can argue is playing as good as Jalen Hurts right now. And they're firing on all cylinders, and they have a defense that they can bring to the party. I like the Eagles.
Tom?
2 weeks ago, when you asked me this question about this game, or if you were to ask me the question, I would have probably laughed and said Jacksonville shouldn't even get off the plane. That tells you the state of the NFL. 2 weeks, there's a lot has changed. What Jacksonville did last week was impressive. Yeah, Herbert's got some rib issues, but irregardless, they went in and they put a hurting on the Chargers. So with that being said, going into Philly, it's a really good team. If not, maybe the best team in the NFL, maybe. Definitely the NFC. It's going to be close, but give me the Eagles.
Robbie, Jags Eagles.
Yeah, so this is what you saw recently versus what you should know watching consistently. Eagles open -6. They're up to 6-5. Eagles are a much better football team. They run the ball, they pass the ball. Hurts, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith. Eagles roll. Give me the Eagles.
This is my bet your nuts. So I will wait. I will wait till the end to give my prediction. But Randall's bet your nuts is going to come in this game. So let's Chiefs Bucs. Who gets right?
Well, this game's going to be played at in Minnesota, so
Right.
you can take home field advantage. But as Robbie says, it doesn't really matter anymore. But I think the Chiefs get right here. I think that playbook opens up. Tampa Bay, just unless they can get healthy miraculously, it's going to be tough. Give me the Chiefs.
Robbie.
Of the Chiefs and who? The Chiefs?
Bucs.
Oh. Man, I think these are two teams falling off a cliff. Brady's getting old. Yes, I'll say it if no one else will. Brady's getting old for our eyes. He's getting old. He should have retired. But Mahomes doesn't have weapons anymore. And Mahomes is cocky. Okay. I'm going to go Brady by a field goal, but I hate it. Kids, don't bet this. Do not bet this game. Don't bet it.
It's only
JP.
one right now.
Okay, so you got Mike Evans coming back this week. I think Godwin's going to play limited. I like the Bucs secondary and their front seven against the Chiefs. I'm going with the GOAT.
Tom.
That was much more in depth than I was.
I give us the first one. I already gave my prediction.
Me. I like Leonard Fournette to have a huge day. And I like the Bucs. So who's up next on the next game? Is it Robbie? Are you up first?
Yeah, what do we got?
Rams.
The Ramrods.
The Rammers.
The Rammers Niners.
Pardon the pun. San Francisco Rammers.
So people that have been watching us for a while know my distaste for the Niners and the Jets for what they did in the draft, I think 2 or 3 years ago. So I cannot get over that management. Like, not that I necessarily love the Rams, but I hate the Niners because they drafted Trey Lance. They traded 3 first-round picks for him or whatever they did. That is so idiotic, and I just don't trust them, so I'm going the Rams. And then the Jets, whoever plays the Jets, I bet against them also.
All right. Robbie Davis, how to win money and influence people. JP.
Yeah. Just hatred. Straight anger and hatred.
Well, I think the Rams are struggling to find an identity I think they miss Odell, and I think they miss Whitworth at left tackle. Also struggling to find an identity with no identity, in my opinion, is the 49ers outside of Deebo Samuel. So I'm going to go with the Rams. I think the lesser of two evils prevails.
I think you're right. Lesser of two evils. Tom?
This game, you maybe beginning of the year or so, you would have said it could have been played, had been based on their offense. I don't think either team has an offense to write home about. Jimmy G looked
Garbage.
and he was caught on camera basically mouthing, "These are dumb plays," or something to that effect. So there might be a little bit of infighting between him and Kyle Shanahan. So that being said, this game's in San Francisco. San Francisco has a hell of a defense. They tend to be the thorn on the Rams' side during the regular season, and they certainly was the case last year, winning both of those games. So give me San Francisco on maybe a field goal fest. This is really going to be ugly. A lot of sacks. I think JP's right. Stafford does not have that go-to guy because, outside of Kupp, I think Odell was the X factor, and him not being there, they haven't replaced him. So give me the Niners by a field goal.
I'm going to give you DFS advice for your Monday single slate lineups. Play both defenses and both kickers because it might be that kind of game.
Mm-hmm.
Literally. I like the Niners to win at home. All right, so let's jump over. We got 4 top 10 worthy matchups, and let's get through those real fast. JP, let's start with Okie State, Baylor, and I think this is truly the 2 best teams in the Big 12.
I think you're right. I think, Baylor's been underdogs in a couple games this year. I think they're disrespecting my boy Dave Aranda out there. But I think it's going to come down to, I don't think Oklahoma State can play very much defense.
Mm-hmm.
So I think if Baylor can get some timely stops late in the fourth quarter, I like Baylor pull it out.
Tom?
Baylor with the big win last week, Iowa State. And to piggyback off what JP said, Oklahoma State gave up 44 at home to the fire-up chips of Central Michigan in week 1. Their defense is suspect. Give me Baylor. This is a home game for Baylor, correct?
Yes.
Okay, give me Baylor. I like Baylor.
Robbie?
Yeah, home field still means something in college. I like the home team. I like Baylor. Baylor's got a good atmosphere on the lake there. Even though Oklahoma State's good, I'll give me the home team. I'll take Baylor.
So I literally am going to pick Baylor, and I'm going to tell you why. My boss shows up at work one day, and it's a female, an older lady, and she's talking about, her son, our grandson is a punter at a college football team program. And she's brought it up about twice in the last 4 years. Turns out her son is Isaac Power, the punter for Baylor. And I'm like, you should be riding this one. You should be getting free lunches off of this. Give me Baylor to win it. And I'll be picking Baylor the rest of the year because I'm trying to get Isaac to appear on RiverCity-Media. All right, Robbie, in the SEC matchup, we have 2 top 10 matchups. So let's get them both at the same time. Kentucky, Ole Miss, Alabama, Arkansas.
Did you hear what Lane Kiffin said about Ole Miss fans?
Yes.
And I don't know. Someone said it, and I will echo that sentiment. That this is why Lane Kiffin will walk back to Knoxville. Is he's complaining about fans being in the stands at halftime when they run out. Yeah, Lane Kiffin misses Knoxville. He does, 100%. But back to your predictions. Ole Miss versus
Kentucky.
Arkansas? Kentucky. I'll take Kentucky. They're better coached. They have better players. And what's the spread?
I don't have the spreads in front of me, but I can get it.
It's Ole Miss 7. Ole Miss is giving 7.
Ole Miss -7.
Oh, good God. Kentucky and the points. And if any of you guys want to bet, I'll match your wager.
All right, JP. How about Alabama, Arkansas, Robbie?
Oh, Alabama.
All right, JP. Kentucky, Alabama, Arkansas.
I'm gonna go with I think Will Levis. It's just so the game's at Ole Miss, correct?
Yes.
I think Levis and the boys are gonna go on the road, and I think they're gonna get the upset. And I can't stand Lane Kiffin, so I'd love to see it. And then I really like KJ Jefferson, and I really like Sam Pittman. I want to have me an ice cold beer too, but I like Alabama.
Be careful. Randall's a Lane Kiffin lover.
I love Lane Kiffin. Go ahead. Did I still have it? Never mind. Tom, what do you have?
You can't discount what Kentucky was able to do going down to the swamp and winning. I think Will Levis right now, he's a first-round pick in next year's draft. Kentucky's got a better overall team. I don't trust Lane Kiffin in big games. Give me UK all day. And with Alabama, Arkansas, I can see this game being close. It's in Arkansas. Those Sueys are going to be really snorting and snorting in the first half. Arkansas, coming off a bad loss last week, are going to be ready to play, and they're going to come out hot. First half's going to be close. Second half, not going to be close. Give me Alabama.
All right, one more game of somewhat, not somewhat, national perspective. ACC, maybe game of the year, North Carolina State, Clemson. Tom, break that down to start.
So NC State's in the top 10 for the first time in how many years? I heard a stat the other day that's just pretty incredible. Devin Leary he's a proven quarterback. I think this is going to be a tough task. This game is in Clemson, though, correct? If I'm not mistaken.
Yes, it is.
So I think that's a tough pill to swallow for a team that's just now starting to get their groove. Clemson's got the offense, so I can see this being a good game. I think because this game is down there in Death Valley, I think Clemson pulls it out. It wouldn't shock me if NC State covers, because right now it's Clemson -6.5. So I think it might be a little bit closer than that. But give me Clemson.
Let me throw my pick in because I didn't put it the last games. The Fighting Lane Kiffins get the win, but Kentucky covers. Alabama rolls Arkansas, and Clemson rolls North Carolina State. Robbie.
Not so fast, my friend.
Not so fast.
North Carolina State is always a thorn in the side of Clemson, and this year they may have a team to compete with them. I'm betting North Carolina State money line. I think they beat Clemson at Clemson because Clemson fans have gotten cocky. They're used to just winning. They're just going to show up out emotion. NC State wins.
If you want to give away your money, I'll send you my Cash App after the show.
Oh, absolutely. How much do you want to bet?
There's gambling and reckless speculation. You all have to partake in this outside of reckless speculation. That's a rule we made. When I say outrageous stuff, Robbie tries to bet me every single time. Obviously, you think the different on this.
Hey, no. JP, we'll put the odds on. I'll take NC State money line.
Okay. Well, look at
the gamble.
Here's my pick.
After the hour, I'll text each other phone numbers.
So, NC State is overblown. They escaped a near loss against East Carolina in the first game that they should have lost.
Yep.
And like I said earlier, DJ Ungule is playing the best football of his career. I think Brian Brisset, the big guys on the Clemson defensive line, I think just too much for the Wolfpack. I'm going Clemson.
All right. And we got gambling on the side. So what can you All right, guys, real quick, break the news. Braves lost. Mets are in extra innings, tied 4-4. Major League Baseball, and I don't want to spend long on this, they face a major decision. And I do think in playoff atmosphere baseball, home field advantage is a big deal. Right now, it appears that the Braves and Mets will be moved. The Mets win 5-4.
Okay.
Power move. Just stop the screen.
We
don't care. Just wait a second.
The Mets win 5-4.
You slaves will be here when I get back. Hold on. Talk amongst yourselves.
Oh, well, I mean, I think you look in that division. I don't know how big of a baseball fan you are, Robbie, but I know it's going to come down to this weekend. And I think what Randall's going to talk about is how is the hurricane going to affect this series?
You know my opinion on baseball. My opinion the same thing as NASCAR. Why are we doing it right now? Why?
Because this is playoff baseball. This is playoff baseball.
I can't help but the TV numbers matter.
That mute button is a wonderful thing. All right. It does come down to you've played 160 games and you have a home field advantage for 3 games that get you out of playing in a divisional round and moves you a whole step up. If you are the Braves and this playoff series gets moved, is it a disadvantage or is it, Robbie says, it doesn't matter, you're in the playoffs, all it is the playoffs? Tom.
It's a big disadvantage. I think the division was weighing on this series being played in Atlanta. And by the looks of it, I don't see how that's going to happen. I know we're a couple days away and that storm is moving really slow, but it looks like by Friday, this thing's going to, obviously it's not going to be a hurricane by the time it hits it, but it's going to be a big disadvantage because you look, Mets fans will travel. New York fans will travel. So if they put this thing in another stadium where Mets fans are, easily can commute to it, there goes that home field advantage. And when they're doing the tomahawk chop and the Braves are rolling, I think that's as good of a home field advantage as anybody in baseball. So this storm really could disrupt the landscape of this year's playoffs, if it comes into play here.
I'm going to say, and JP, I'll get your input here too. As a Braves fan, Atlanta is the best home field in baseball. If you can avoid playing 3 extra games, your chances to win the World Series are increased, I'd say tenfold. You're now, if you play in the wild card and it goes 3 games, game 1 into LDS, you've got your 4th pitcher going against their number 1. Your whole team is out of sequence. So the Mets winning tonight might make it mute, because now it forces the Braves to maybe even sweep that series in Atlanta. But JP, if this was Detroit and they were moving it to say, let's move it to St. Louis, how would you feel as a fan?
I mean, we're talking about baseball.
Don't make me put you on mute too. You're not.
No, I think it's a big disadvantage, and that's that'd be unfortunate. So I'm assuming that the Braves are going to get moved with hurricane implications. Yeah, so
that's going to decide tomorrow.
Okay, yeah. So I mean, if it was the playoffs and the Tigers were in it and it was in St. Louis, I'd probably drive there because it never happens anymore. But I think Braves fans would travel, but obviously you'd like to be at home, so it's a big disadvantage.
The talk is moving it to Houston, possibly. So we'll see.
Ouch.
All right, guys, that's all we had for tonight's show. Thank God we made it an hour and 36 minutes. Robbie, do you have a baseball comment?
I don't want to talk on baseball.
Okay.
So, that's what I've been waiting for all night. Look, baseball's problem is the same problem that NASCAR has.
No, it's not, because baseball's
yes, it is.
Sport.
I promise you it is. You cannot schedule your season to end when football season begins. It's as simple as that. I don't care when if you're baseball, play double headers, stop your game at Labor Day. Same with racing. Stop it, because when you get into football season, football monopolizes it. I promise you. Look at ESPN. Look at Fox. No one cares about baseball right now except for you baseball freaks. And that's not, I'm not trying to ostracize you guys, but that's how the media works. You look at, no one cares. No one gives a.
So, Robbie, before you say a word, sporting event outside of NFL is Major League Baseball.
What's that?
12 million, the highest watched sport outside of football is Major League Baseball. It is the second most popular sport in the nation. And there's a large portion of the nation that baseball.
Wait, are you telling me
football
baseball is more popular than college football?
Nope, did not say that. I said it's the second most viewed sport beside professional sport.
Yeah. So imagine if you took your playoffs and you didn't go against those and you put them in August before that popular 2 sports started, then you could have huge ratings. I'm just trying to help people.
It still gets 12 million people, so it's not.
No, but that's like being hey, I sold 12 Debbies at my big scale. But if I did it in other sport, if I did it a month later, I could sell 60 Debbies. Look, I'm trying to make more money for people.
NBA and in basketball and NASCAR, you've got to win to here, February to August, get your whole weekend.
No, just
moving on.
Don't get me started on NASCAR. NASCAR. So I told you guys, I listened to the NASCAR radio today. They're like, "Oh, how can we compete against the NFL?" Well, damn it, don't go on Sundays in the NFL. Has football. Finish it like that. That's the most obvious thing in the world.
All right, so let's get to the most obvious thing in the world. Where are you going to put your money this weekend, Robbie Davis?
So this weekend, let me look at my odds. I have it prepared. Hold on. So I've actually been hot in the NFL, which is very rare for me. Let's look at the schedule here.
Do you want me to
JP, how'd you like the first show?
Do you want me to move on to someone else? Let's go. Give me a second, Tom. Go ahead with what you got on your bet your nuts.
All right. My bet your nuts this week might be the snooze game of the year in the NFL. You have a team that who knows what they're going to do against a team that, well, can't get a quarterback to complete 50% of the passes. Cardinals, Panthers. Arizona going into Carolina giving the Cardinals 1.5. That's ridiculous to me. Give me Kyler Murray in the battle of mediocrity to win. And as a bonus nut, I'm going to go with Ryan Blaney plus 1,200 to win at Talladega. He's got 2 wins under his belt in the last 10 races there. So Ryan Blaney plus 1,200 to win, plus 400 to finish third.
Wow.
Did that inspire you now?
Yep, I am. So I am now copying Tom. He copied me a few times. I love Ryan Blaney plus 1,200. Yes, I'm laying it down. $100, $1,200 in my pocket. Love it.
All right, JP, what have you got this week?
Well, I kept mine a little tighter than theirs, but I'm looking at Miami and Cincinnati tomorrow night on Thursday Night Football. Numbers started at -3 for the Bengals. It's up to -4. I like the Bengals at -4, -108. I think Miami's coming off of 2 tough battles against Baltimore and against the Bills, and Tua's a little banged up, so I think they very well could have shot their wad. They got to go on the road. I think this is going to be their come-down week.
All right.
Pardon the fun. Shot their wad, come down. Bart'll do.
Good. Let's keep going. I've already told you the game mine comes from, and the Jags lost to the Commanders in week 1. Beat the Colts in week 2, 24-0. Beat the Chargers 38-10 in week 3. To me, though, the hottest team in the NFL and maybe the best team in the NFL at this point, it can change through the year, is the Eagles. But the number I like and the thing that jumps out to me is that total of 47. I think that number is a little well, I think it's wrong. I think both teams are capable of putting up a lot of points. I think both teams have good defenses, but I just don't see not covering that number. So I want to go Jags and Eagles. The number I have right now, over 47. Jags and Eagles over 47. And also, I like the Eagles laying the points. So, but my official bet your nuts is over 47.
So I just want to reiterate, Blaney at plus 1,200. He's a favorite with Byron, Larson, Logano, and Hamlin, Chase Elliott, which means this is a free-for-all. So pick one of those 4. That's plus $1,200 and be happy. But I like Tom's pick at Blaney. I'm rolling with it.
All right, Mr. Davis, go ahead and just throw out your last words for the night then.
Last words of the night are reckless speculation for reasons that are not going to be public is going to get a lot better, I think. We're going to have a lot more fun.
Yes.
And I think everyone will enjoy it more. And And so I can't wait till JP. Thanks for being the guest host or whatever you are. And you're welcome back at any time. But I think regular speculation is going to be a lot better in the upcoming months. The football season, basketball season, March Madness. Looking forward to what we grow to now.
We can cut ourselves loose a little bit. JP, final words for the night. And by the way, y'all, I will tell you, JP's in the future of River City Media. In some way, there's going to be a show developed around it. I've talked about I want a separate Big Ten show, a separate ACC or SEC show. So as we go, I'm sure JP is going to be a permanent part of River City Media. This was our first time to work in, but JP, you're very knowledgeable, and thank you very much for jumping in.
Yep.
Welcome, and I plan on stealing you too from the other podcasting network. So
Yep.
we'll figure it out down the road. It may not all happen in 2022.
Yeah.
Definitely be a spot for you anytime you want to jump on. Go ahead, buddy.
Appreciate it. Well, I'm going to step outside of sports for a minute. We all know what's going on in Florida. I have a lot of family down there in that Port Charlotte, Punta Gorda area that are kind of hunkered down right now. They're holding on to their cell phones for the last little bit of power until what they got left. So if everybody can just, whatever you believe in or whatever, say something, you know what I mean? And try to keep them in your thoughts. We'll figure out more here tomorrow and as time goes on, but definitely keeping them in our thoughts and willing everything will be okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well said.
Some things exceed sports in importance, and that's one of them. Tom Sloan, sir.
Yeah, I mean, JP hit the head, man. It's definitely trying times for those people down in Florida. But with the future of reckless speculation going to be widening, one thing that I love about this show is we don't always talk sports 100%. We're going to be able to hit on some other subjects now that I think might attract a different kind of an audience. And, more and more will come out as we go on. But I think the future of this network, the people that provide content for this network, I think the future is bright. And bringing somebody with the knowledge of JP on board to do a Big Ten show only makes it better. He brings a huge follower base with him, which only makes visibility to the Facebook page, to our show, and to your other shows that much more. So I definitely look forward to doing more projects with him in the future. But definitely keep those people down in Florida in your prayers. And not only Florida, things going to go up into Georgia from what it looks like. But you can't take life for granted. I mean, there was people that here living on in beautiful homes or whatever yesterday. Now they're gone, literally floated down the road. So life isn't always about sports. There is life too, and you know what? Don't take it for granted, because here one day, gone the next.
I got nothing else. That was beautifully said. And do pray for the people in Florida. I know one other thing about River City Media. There is one person that needs less camera time, and that is yours truly, because I'm sick of looking at myself on every show too. So if I get more shows developed, I can fire myself off of the air. And
Yes,
I'll always support reckless speculation, but it's nice. I get no more thrill than sitting in my bedroom and watching you guys on content. I've a couple of times I've set out a rec. It's great. It's enjoyable. You all are all so knowledgeable. It makes me wonder. ESPN has a bunch of research people and stats people. We've got this in our head with very little. This is just our lives, and we live our life for sports. But reckless speculation is a part of that. And JP, again, thank you.
Thank you, JP.
The Florida, 1.8 million people without power right now. haven't been through a few tornadoes and one hurricane. It's a scary thing, you know.
Well, and I don't know much about nonprofits. I don't know much about setting things up. But if you want to, if we can, it's probably off topic or off camera topic. But actually, cut off topic and we can talk about it.
Absolutely. I just want to finish up and say thank you to everyone that took your time to stay with us. We got done under 2 hours. Congratulations. Good night. God bless. And we're out of here.